Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Ascension Files. I'm here with Michael Becker, who is a consciousness expert just because he explores himself and he's a monster in it. And I was on his website one day, never met him, never even talked to him. I was on his website and the content was just amazing. We'll be leaving links with all that below. So let's jump into it. Let's talk about May and how intense May has been. And then let's also then kind of go into what's happening on the planet and what you see the evolution of consciousness going on with.
This last month for me has been one of release, of mass purging and letting go. Literally, like the last full moon, it all started, and up till today, we're at our May full moon now. It's just been absolutely. It's felt like torture almost with all the tears that have come out and the shedding, man, like multi-layered, multi-level.
I've just been so in it.
Yeah.
But for the first time, I had so much compassion for myself throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it was like, I'm learning. I actually just was able to discern fretting from processing finally. And what I realized is when I start to judge myself for feeling the feelings I'm having, the thoughts I'm having, doing all that, you actually start to bring it back inside of you. But if you just allow yourself, allowance is huge this month and going into June is allow yourself to be happy, or allow yourself to feel this way, or allow yourself to feel that way. So let's talk about how is it that there's light coming in from the central sun, the universe, whatever you want to talk about, and it's coming through our vessels and purging us of all these illusions that aren't actually true, but they were so real to us for so long. And now all of a sudden they're just, what do you gather how is this happening? Do you feel like, where did you kind of connected with and seen?
I think it's happening again on a multi-dimensional level. I think that we are silently being asked to step up, to ascend at an expedited rate. And I also think we're being catalyzed to sort of let go, depending on where we're vibrating, right? So I think, like, you know, somebody that's at a frequency level or operating on a higher frequency plane than another is going to be feeling these energies obviously more intensely, and they're going to be asked to respond in a different way. That's going to feel more severe. It's going to feel more intense. The light energy that's being funneled through our central sun and then through the galactics in our system star, the sun, before it hits us, contains information. It contains code and instruction for all consciousness within its domain, right? And so we're going to feel this, and it's going to impact us each in a little bit of a different way. So for me, it's just been a process of release, coming back to my truth, my worth, my value. But your story is probably very different.
It is, but it isn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, I am coming back to all that. It's like I said, like you said, it started last full moon. I was in Swahani, which is a very spiritual river.
Okay.
I was told that, and even they had a postcard talking about that it was a spiritual site of the ancient Seminoles 12,000 years ago, pre-deluge. And all of a sudden I found myself there going through these crazy energies. And what I'm realizing is that where the star seeds have been and the light workers have been is where we needed to be. That's why we've had decay, we've had blocks, we've had all this shit. That's like, I can't win for losing. I don't understand what's happening. And it is because we needed to be where we are. What I'm also realizing is that now we're starting to gain our wings. We're getting our wings, and we're going to need to start flying, because everywhere we go, just by just being more us than ever before, we're actually healing the planet. We're helping others heal, because we're pushing our light into the society, and they're seeing that there's a different way of being. And my opinion of what's happening with the central sun is it's removing cognitive dissonance. So it's almost in a way where you can't choose to suck anymore without knowing you suck. You know what I'm saying? And so it's kind of like, a lot of people want to make this, super light and kind and hippie foo-foo with the butterflies and all these things. And that's fine. And that's great. I love watching that content from time to time. But we're not at that point yet where we're going to be this 6D planet where we're going to come together and sing Kumbaya and be able to use our minds to levitate shit. So we got to get there, which means we got to purge all this trauma. And that's why the first wave being us, we're doing it so that we can reach behind and go, this is how you do it. You know what I'm saying? And so let's talk a little bit about your path. Let's talk a little bit about your ascension. When did it start? What was it like? What kind of caused it? Did you choose it, or did you just come to, talk a little bit about yourself and your path?
It's been unorthodox, I think, is the way that I would summarize it. Prior to my awakening, I guess, back in 2018, I would really just describe myself as being a generally kind-hearted, still empathic and outgoing individual. But I kind of was kind of in just the regular thing that guys do. I went to college, hung out with friends, went out, played sports, just kind of like did the thing, living a life that I was very much sort of programmed to lead. And it was sort of an interesting unfolding of events during a relationship with an ex girlfriend that we started actually exploring the paranormal together in greater depth. She had grown up in a haunted house. And looking back now, I had been given multiple opportunities to awaken before that, and I did not take them. I had a DUI back in 2015, which was a very clear opportunity for me to wake up, and I just didn't. And I wanted to stay in a low spot that I was in following a breakup before that. So my guides and my higher guidance came in and really took another angle at it. And I've always been interested in urban legends, myths, and different things of that nature. So that really sparked my interest, man. And we just kind of went down the rabbit hole together from a consciousness perspective, from an afterlife perspective, not so much from conspiratorial or anything like that. And as you mentioned, that's really the focus that I've been taking in my own awakening is that of a truth seeking from the nature of reality perspective, not so much. I don't dabble in the controversies or the conspiracies. I don't really dabble in the sort of dark government, this and that. That's not my focus.
Because you're here. This is so much higher already, man. Like
it's a higher place that I'm working at and trying to spread information consistent with.
So talk about what you learned at the beginning of your awakening, at the beginning of choosing your awakening, because I was there too. I had a couple times. I had a suicide attempt that pushed me into the Marine Corps, which I believe everything was part of the awakening. Like to me, coming to with a steak knife to my wrist after a blackout and going, what the fuck am I doing? That was an awakening.
Right.
And everything changed from that moment on. My life went to this 12-year path to get me here, but I got into a relationship 4 years ago around this time, and I had two women I could choose. I could choose one girl that's really good for me, and she was wonderful and amazing, but I was broken, and there was this really hot girl.
Right.
You know what I mean? And dude, just we drank together, and then it would become, and like within 6 months, she was able to get me to really like my brain broke, which showed me that my brain wasn't that strong to begin with. If that took 6 months in a relationship for me to lose my shit. And so it took me 4 years of going through this healing, not just from her, it was my whole life, but she gave me the catalyst to start this healing process.
Yeah.
And because of that, that's where I am today. So you're dating this girl. She lived in a haunted house her whole life. You're exploring the higher consciousness of paranormal activity. What did you learn? What was the path of discovery? And did it just make you I need more. Like, I just need to know more.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I always say to people, I feel like personal development and awakening is the one thing it's actually relatively healthy to be addicted to. And for me, but it kind of replaced a lot of the other things that I loved or found engaging to be involved in my life. Like I didn't want to drink as much. I didn't really feel the urge to go out and do a lot of the things that I'd been doing prior. And it just became about reading, consuming content, absorbing information, starting to receive downloads and in so many different ways. The synchronicities were incredible at the onset, man, and have since died off a little bit, which I'm okay with. It's just like, it's been a runaway freight train. Time has disappeared for me. Like, I don't even know, I have no sense of time anymore,
I love it, man. So me and my family is awakening, too, with me, which is nice.
That is.
They're really big. They're really big into the politics and everything like that, but they've spent 50 years in the matrix, giving all their time and energy and money
Yeah.
And then now they're like, this is what the fuck's been happening my whole life. And this is why I've been miserable. So for them, it's, they put 60 years into this, you know what I mean? And so they want to know what the truth is. And for me, I'm like, I never liked it from the beginning. And I
Yeah.
just, like you, I just played in it. And
Yeah.
so you're awakening, you're growing, right? What, how has your life changed? How has your life changed in the last, say, 5 years since that, 6 years since that DUI? Because I
Yeah.
would say that is your low point, you know?
Yeah.
What happened in the last 6 years for you? Like you say, you don't even worry about time no more. What I want people to see is that there's a benefit from to doing all this work and to diving into yourself. Have you seen abundance come in? Have you seen opportunity come in? Have you
Uh-huh.
had better relationships? Have your family relationships improved? You know, talk about your life now because of the choices you made to get.
What I've picked up on as a pattern within my life is sort of like a every 5 or 6 years, there's like this wave that goes, looking back at like 2009 timeframe and then to 2015 and then to now. I'm sort of actually in working through like a second dark night of the soul right now. Um, and it seems like just every 5 or 6 years, it's kind of a new major catalyst that really pushes me to where I need to get, even though it's hard to see it when you're in the eye of the storm.
Yep.
And so looking back, like having that hindsight now, I'm pursuing my life coaching business and my Kangen water business and my online course. And I'm literally spearheading, like in my personal perspective, um, one of the best kind of brands out there in this space. And that's exciting, man. Like I never would have seen this coming for myself. I didn't even know life coaching was a thing, a year and a half ago. So the trajectory of my life has been altered permanently by the catalysts and the experiences that I've been going through over the last 5 years, no question. But it took all of those to get me to where I'm at.
Exactly. And that's why I say is they said in 2014 was when the Ascension windows opened for the first time. It was May
Yeah.
25th. It was around this time, 2014. I had gotten out of the Marine Corps 10 days before that. I went to a festival. I did
Yeah.
some fun stuff. And I thought it was that caused me to go into a 3-month depression. In
Mhm.
reality, it was in an opener and it
Mhm.
just allowed me to finally start to purge and feel all of it. But because I didn't know what it was, I ran from it.
Yeah.
And I would sit in my bed and I would eat food and process with Netflix and all this and that. And I was just constantly reconsuming my darkness and my energy. And it didn't take till 2016. I learned yoga. And then after that thing with that girl, I just stopped taking care of myself as well. I really started to abuse myself after that. What my passion is the vessel. I just understand this human journey unlike anyone I've ever met in my entire life, unlike any book I've ever read in my entire life. I understand it more than the Bible. I understand it more than any, I'm telling you, man, just like you know that your course is something really special. I know for a fact that with my Being Human brand and what I'm doing with what I found was teaching starseeds who have never felt comfortable being human how to be human, because the whole point of this journey is through the human experience. You
Mhm.
know, we're experiencing the human. We're not the human.
Yeah.
The human
Yeah.
is taking us through this simulation.
Right.
And the only thing that's real is the relationship we build within ourselves. And
Right.
so something I wanted to talk to you about. I want to go back to your 5, 6 year theory. I have a 7 year cycle theory.
Yep.
It's called life cycles, where every
Yeah.
7 years, shit just changes, man. And you
Right.
evolve and you grow and your interests change and this and that. But what
Yeah.
I'm wondering is, you said you're going through a little mini dark night of the soul. I went through a 4 year dark winter of the soul. And what I realize now is our ability to allow the changes. I don't know if we're going to have those real hard shifts anymore. And if we do, it's not going to be like a game changer like it's been for us, because we're not attached to things as much anymore. And so
True.
how have you been able to let go of attachments to the old life you were living? Because this is what's happening right now is where you were in 2015 is where 99.99999% of the fucking world is right now. They're about to
Yeah.
wake up. They
Yeah.
think they know things and shit's about to hit the fan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're going to have hippies and unicorns and foo-foo and all that eventually, but we're going to have to help people heal.
Mhm.
So what's your process? You're a life coach now. You're building a platform. You're building a course. Let's talk about that and talk about your life cycles and what you think you can do to help people get out of their own way.
The sky's the limit. I think for me, for you, for all of us. I've got an idea of where I want to get to. I'm not going to go too much into that now because I want to keep my manifestation work nice and
yes,
nice and protected.
Dude, I was always a talker, man. I
Yeah.
sloppy manifested everything. So,
but like I look at somebody like an Eckhart Tolle or even a Neil Donald Walsh and the impact that those guys are having as strong masculine leaders within this awakening community, and working toward and leading into that kind of an energy on that kind of a platform is something that really excites me. And I do want to get into public speaking. I'll probably end up investing in a course to learn more about that within the next year here. It's part of my plan, continuing to grow my businesses and really just stay connected to the 3D, because that's where we find ourselves, but ushering in this higher frequency light and really stepping into a position of leadership.
let's talk about your website now and the content on your website. Let's go into the space. All right. So I had a huge awakening. This is constant awakenings. You know what I'm saying? It's what it is. But last month I had a massive awakening. It was more of just like validation to what I've known my whole life, that truth we were talking about. And the truth is that it's all on you. There's nothing outside of you exists.
Correct.
I mean, you're real. I'm real. It's all real, but it's not, because it's not real to you. It's the only thing that matters is this experience through this human vessel. And what's reflected onto you in the matrix is actually the illusion.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually there to teach you what's actually going on inside of you. So how do you get people to flip their mindsets from comparing everything to the external to coming inside, sitting and convening with themselves, and then being able to compare and contrast off of what they see out externally?
Yeah, let me give you an example. So in my content, man, I try to phrase things in a way that it goes beyond the fluff. I don't really use truisms, mantras, or axioms, right? Like the way I describe things, it's very fucking literal. And so to just kind of piggyback off of what you were mentioning, like, yeah, I don't describe it that way though. The way I describe it is I take a bit of a spiritual science approach and I say, okay, you're all familiar with this idea that we have a human torus field of energy that encases our body, right? I have a theory that is a smart pixelated sort of energy field that is hyper advanced, hyper tech, through which we actually perceive this reality. If you imagine that you're in a smart planetarium, essentially that's my perspective on my own reality. I don't believe the external world is as real as it looks or seems. I believe that we are living within a highly responsive and reactive digital 3D planetarium that encases our own body, right? So the language that I try to use is really where my value is in helping to shift the way people think about things, I think.
I love it, man, because this is why I'm doing the Ascension files. This is what the Army of Energy, this is why I'm doing it, is because I'm one person, man. You know, even if I have 1 million people I'm talking to, it's 1 million, there's 7.8 billion fucking people, dude, you know? So I find amazing people like you who have a way of speaking to a specific group of people. I find another person who has a way of speaking, but here's the golden thread that connects all of us. It's not bullshit. It's all raw. It's all real. I don't have time to package truth to people anymore. I did that for my whole life. I've always spoke the truth, but I always walked around people's egos and tried to make sure that they felt good about it. Now I'm like, I don't fucking care. Because here's the thing. There's plenty of people out there fluffing it up for people to accept it. Who are the people out there hitting you in the chest with the truth and going, right, I don't really like him, but I can't not think and feel that anymore. I'm going to go over here and lay down. You know what I'm saying? And that's my thing is I don't have time to listen to you complain about your life.
Yeah.
Because your life doesn't matter to me. Your existence matters to me. Your perspective matters to me. Your energy and who you are as an individual, unique fractal of God, yes, absolutely does matter to me. But the bullshit that you think's happening in your life isn't actually real. And that's why you're still stuck spinning your wheels and you're unhappy. And because you're unhappy, you make everyone else around you unhappy too. And so where I'm getting to the point now is I'm looking for people like you who can really explain these things. And I'm going to come around and just be like, are you ready? You know, and just trying to like get people to maybe get a little angry, get a little pissed off because we're so fucking apathetic right now. I was in the Winn-Dixie, which is like the Walmart of grocery stores in Florida, right? So I was in Winn-Dixie the other day and they were jabbing people with the shot in the middle of the fucking cookie aisle, dude.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what are we doing here? Why is this happening? And then all of a sudden I realized it's because it was happening for me. It was
Yeah,
happening. So I would see that, I would
exactly.
have this reaction, and I would be able to purge whatever illusion construct I created in my head, opinions,
Yeah,
expectations, and judgments that don't fucking exist. They're
right.
bullshit. And so how'd you get to that point? How did you get to the point of letting go of all those programs, all those
Mm,
misconceived notions about yourself, first of all, and then about reality, to allow for all the truth to come in and then also accept it as your truth?
yeah, you're really awake, man. Like most people, they wouldn't have the inner awareness to be able to recognize that it's happening for them. They would judge it, they would label it, and start making assumptions about these vaccine conspiracies out there in the world, and get lost in that narrative because it's easy to do and it's interesting, right? I'm not interested in what's interesting. I'm interested in the nature of reality. And I find that very interesting. But I'm not attached to anything. I'm not attached to narratives, to stories, to anything. You know, like I'm open, man. And I happen to believe that nobody is real except for me. I happen to believe this is my own gaming experience that I jumped into. And the reason that I believe that, it's multi-threaded, like, but just say my life experience up to this point and the synchronicities that go along with it, and uh, just the downloads that have come in, until something better comes in that makes more sense for me, you know. And I would urge others, you know, seek your own truth, but play with this, you know, just play with it, play with these different paradigms and see what happens, see what resonates. How would your view on reality and the things that are happening in the world change if you shifted to the mindset that perhaps you were the sole creator of your reality and you were immersed in a virtual construct that you created for you, and everything was pre-planned happening for you? Like, how would that change your life?
And I'm gonna take your theory. I'm gonna bring it out now to where we're at here, because I agree with your theory, and I've been thinking about this and feeling about this for a year and a half now. Where I remember Yeshua came to me. I channeled Yeshua,
Mhm.
and I asked him about, it was the first time I ever channeled that I engaged. I've heard voices throughout my life, kind of guiding me and things like that, but. And I asked him, I was like, is everyone real on this planet? He's like, no,
Mm.
man, NPCs.
Mhm.
I was like,
Right.
NPCs? He's like, NPCs, non-player characters, bro. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden I was like, oh shit, so that everything is a simulation. But
Right.
then a year later, I was driving and I got a better understanding of what NPC stands for.
Yeah.
So the way I visualize reality is that you're real and I'm real. We're both real in this, but it's like we're wearing VR goggles in a white room and we're just kind of bumping into each other and shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But here's the other thing to that is I believe that you're an NPC until you regain your beingness, until you
Mhm.
ascend in consciousness
Mhm.
and you regain your remembrance of who you are, what you are, and why you were here. I believe up until 2020, December 21st, 2020 was a simulation. I believe it was a complete simulation the last 12,000 years to humble the Nephilim, which we are. We're the Nephilim. And then it's unfortunate, unless you're a walk in, if you've been recycling yourself on this planet since for however long, you're most likely Nephilim, you're most likely Lemurian, Atlantean, things like that. So I believe that the Earth closed herself down 12,000 years ago to create this simulation, this 3D matrix to help humble the gods. And I believe that we've opened that up over the last year. And I believe once we regain our remembrance of who we are, what we are, and why we are here, it's no longer a simulation. What I was told from my guides was Earth school is over. We're graduating Earth school right now. Like this next
Mm.
3 months is like summer vacation,
Okay.
right? And then we're moving into Uni-city, University. It's like what they call it. They call it Uni-city. You move into University where, yes, you're being informed now and you're still human and you're doing all this and that, but we're going to be taking these vessels through stargates. We're going to be taking these vessels to different star systems and planetary systems. And we're going to also help the other humans, because we're not the only humans on planet Earth. We're going to help the other humans awaken and ascend as well. Because what's happening is Gaia moved herself down out of synchronicity, right? She moved herself out of harmony when she flipped her poles, created that self-contained Toro energy loop, domed herself so that nothing could get in and get out. And now when she comes back up, she's coming back into harmony. And what we are as gods in this vessel is we can manifest and create at the same time. And we know our specific vibration of love that no one else in the universe has. And so what the universe has been waiting for us is for humanity to ascend and remember, so that we can then be part of Uni-city and start actually helping the universe expand. Because this was a trial in negativity and in polarity, and we're the only part of the universe, the only galaxy that has ever experienced this type of negativity, you know. And we graduated, bro. We made it. Like people are still fight, and I'm like, dude, we've won. It's over. So how do you feel about that? How do you feel about that theory? Because I feel that it's as real as it isn't, and that's what my paradox theory kind of comes in. Is everything's kind of in this 0 point.
For sure, bro. What if, like, this, just to throw a mind fuck at you, like, what if that is true for you? What if this simulation is so complex that, like, because that's come in for you, that's the game you're playing, and we're on a shared stage, but maybe that's not going to be true for everybody in the game. Like,
I believe that
anything's possible, you know. There might not be one objective truth. We may be all immersed in our own subjective games that we coded and wrote for ourselves, you know. So I think it's possible. But what's clear and what we both agree on is what's playing out right now in the world is happening. You know, we're seeing these themes that are unfolding, all related to negativity. The collective is needing to experience a lot of what's playing out right now around equality and you know, justice, and all of these sort of what feel like fourth density ideas that just need to be learned at a collective level, but that you and I look at and just say, I'm not interested, right? We're interested in what we're drawn to, what we're a frequency match to, which is not what the collective is going through right now. It's these ideas we're talking about. So
I want to bend metal, bro. I want to bend metal. I want to teleport. I think we can, man. I think these vessels are the greatest piece of technology in the entire universe. And I think the last 300,000 years that we've been learning how to use them, everyone keeps talking about, oh, we're reducing our DNA and we become worse, you know, over the time. The human form went from 33-foot tall giants to now 6 foot. But I look at this, and is it efficient to be a 33-foot tall giant? You know, especially on this planet where you got to go into caves, you got to get into small areas, you got to do all these things. Being a 33-foot tall giant, you couldn't explore shit the same way. And so it's like we've been perfecting this vessel to be exactly what we need it to be. But here's my other theory. How do you stop a 33-foot tall being who has 144,000 times more power than we do from destroying the universe because they don't think they're perfect? And so what I believe this 12,000 years in darkness has been a way for us to dabble in darkness, like we said, in this simulation, just fucking each other up the whole time. That's really what we've been doing, just literally hurting ourselves for the whole time, till we finally choose the light, and then we can go sojourn whatever the next thing is. Because I just learned that there's at least 144 dimensions, at least, and that's not even close. It's infinite, but right now, that's the number I got, which would make sense. 144,000 stars. You know, that's a special number. 12 times 12. 12 is very important. You know, so you were talking about signs and synchronicities before. These have been everything for me, man. Numbers. I'm really big in numbers. I've synchronized my life to 369. So when I just look at a clock and I'm like, I'm on. You know what I'm saying? And animals, things happening for me. You know, not reacting to something happening in the matrix and going, how is this happening for me, and what can I pull from it? You said that the signs and synchronicities have slowed a little bit, but you're also kind of going through a dark night of the soul again. Yeah. I believe that sometimes our guides and God just throw us in the deep end. We have our swimmies on, we have everything we need, but you just throw it in this deep end to like leave us alone for a while to see how we swim. So is that kind of what you feel like you're going through right now? And talk a little about signs and synchronicities and the importance of them in this simulation.
100%, man. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I felt really alone. I've been going through a physical issue, and then I've also been just working through being single for the last 2 years, and the vibration of loneliness that sets in really easily for me. My ego is really incessant as well. And I know what I desire. And I've been hit with repeated experiences that have really tested me across a lot of different areas. That have been tailor-made, by the way, for me, and it's very obvious.
Doesn't matter. This still sucks.
It's still not easy to endure and go through, even when you know what's happening. And I think that's another interesting piece of this Earth game is even when you wake up, it doesn't matter how woke you get, to endure it and to go through it does not necessarily feel fun or easy. And then, to your point about synchronicity, I think the further you go along in your journey too, you're going to be moved to a place where it moves from simple numbers and 1111 on the clock or license plates to these more complex themes that you're not going to be so amazed anymore that you're immersed within a synchronicity, but you'll recognize it as such. It'll feel more like repeating life experience. It'll feel more like, you're having ideas or multi-week or multi-month experiences that tie in nicely to a theme that you just know you're here to master. And it's not easy even when you're in it. So
geckos, there's a lot of geckos by me, a lot of lizards by me, and here in South Florida, we're in the nature coast. And I remember seeing last summer, I was hanging out and I've had fibromyalgia, so I built an entire body on anger and hate, and then it broke, and I've had to rehab myself back into health for the last 2-3 years, and it's just been hell, and I remember seeing a gecko hanging out and half of its skin was molted off. And it was just in that moment, I was like, holy shit, I'm that fucking lizard. I'm molting.
Wow.
And that's why it hurts. And that's why it sucks. And the lizard looked so uncomfortable. He kept shaking, trying to get it off, but he couldn't, you know what I mean? And he had to let it work its way off of him. And all of a sudden in that moment, I was like, boom, that's the sign of synchronicities I'm talking about, that next level, that deep. And here's the thing, is self-trust. You have to trust that you're seeing what you're seeing and believing what you're seeing. So let's talk about self-trust on this awakening ascension path, on this higher consciousness path. How much do you trust yourself now? And how were you able to build that self-trust?
Wow. I think my intuition has really been challenged hard, specifically around meeting a twin flame, soulmate, wife, whatever you want to call it, because there's been so many experiences that I've been brought to where I've even seen synchronicities around them. Most recently, about a month ago in Las Vegas, this girl who, by the way, even in her appearance, she mimicked a previous karmic partner that I had. And I felt the spark and I was like, okay, I feel something. I was seeing so many synchronicities around it. And now it's basically been kind of like silence on the radio for the last month with it. And that's just one example of probably half a dozen or more like it, that I have felt an intuitive knowing that this girl is going to be someone important in my life, and it has not ended up coming to fruition, or it's been another karmic lesson or a test. So there's another, an inherent lesson in that that's even deeper. That's like, are you still going to trust your intuition even despite these letdowns where you trusted it? So for me, that's been the biggest thing, is feeling so disappointed when I trusted my intuition, but being tested to say, are you still going to trust it? And the answer that I keep coming back to is yes, because it's all I have.
It's fucking it, man. I'm happier than I've ever been in my entire life, and I'm wrong a lot. And so it's when I stop trying to be right all the time and I just allow it to be, and what I've gotten to the point now is I've gone so fast through this. It wasn't fast. It was long as shit. But the last 2 years have just been not even a rocket. It was double rockets,
Yeah.
Right. I don't want to do this anymore.
That's a meme, bro.
I didn't sign up for this. And
your face is going to be on a meme tomorrow.
I know, right? So what's so amazing though is I believe everybody that comes into my life is meant to come into my life now.
Yeah.
I have such surrender and letting go and acceptance now that it's my biggest fear was what people used to think of me. And so I didn't speak my truth all the time. And I would let people kind of exist in their own ignorance because I just didn't want to deal with it. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was the right way of going, because you don't sojourn for people. But what I'm learning is that when we awaken, we gain a responsibility to the simulation to become teachers of it. Yeah. Because the whole point is God wants everyone to remember who they are so we can get past this school and we can start doing work. Because that's really what it comes down to. What is worship? It's a Sumerian word for work. All right. And that's what we love to do as humans and as beings. We want to go to work. We want to work, but we want to have fun. We want to be on vacation every day. You know, this is possible now moving into this new earth. It's absolutely possible, but you have to choose it for yourself. You have to believe you deserve it. You have to choose it. You have to do all the work to get rid of all the programs and bullshit that's not actually serving you. And then you just gotta accept that some days you're just gonna suck. Some days are gonna be sad. Some days are gonna be hard. That's been my biggest challenge, has been just because you're spiritually evolving doesn't mean you're not the 32-year-old human that you are. I was able to grow my human to a 32-year-old when he was only 3 his whole life. He was from 20 years old, I was still 3 emotionally. You know, and now I'm a 32-year-old man, but I can't be a 55-year-old man because I'm only 32 years old. So you see how it doesn't matter how evolved your spirit gets when you're in form, because the whole point is to shepherd this human through the experience. And what I'm learning about dark winters and dark nights and ego is the ego is misconceived, and it's completely, people do not understand the ego. And all the ego is the scared little boy or girl inside of you that has never been seen, heard, or acknowledged. And the person who's abused that little boy or girl the most has been you after the initial abuse, when we were between the ages of 1 and 7, usually. And then we allow all the abuse to continue. Then we start projecting at everybody and everything. Not you, I'm just saying, you know, projecting at everybody and everything. And then we don't realize that we're the ones doing this shit to ourselves. Yeah. And that if you learn the ego, you learn to decipher what it's speaking about, how it speaks. The ego loves you. And the ego is the thing that has always been there for you. So when we get to a point in our lives where we don't want to do shit anymore, all of a sudden we like react and like fucking things blow up, and all of a sudden things start moving again. We're like, I can't believe I did that. This is horrible. Is it? Or was it horrible that you were stagnant in a horrible relationship for 4 years until you finally screamed, fuck you, to that person? They're like, I don't want to be with you anymore. And then all of a sudden now, a year later, you're happier than you've ever been because your ego finally did what it is that you, the spirit, the higher fractal consciousness of God, couldn't do for yourself. And so if we learn to respect the ego, we learn to listen to the ego, we can actually leverage it for our spiritual ascension. But the thing is, you're always going to have that ego, and it's always going to have that shadow, and it's always going to talk shit. It's always going to complain. But I realize that if we don't judge the ego for doing those things, and we allow it, and then maybe even dig into why do you feel that way right now? Why are you complaining about that? Why are you so excited about that one thing you saw, when over here we were just talking about this I'm learning to be that bigger brother to your little brother, you know, be the bigger sister to your little sister. Nice. And eventually she just becomes, or he becomes you. Yeah. It's just that you're a 1,000,000-year-old fractal of God, and it's still a 32-year-old human. He's only going to know so much, you know? Exactly. And that's why every one of these lives is fun, hard, but every one of these lives is worth it. And why do we keep coming back? Ask yourself this question. If reincarnation is real, and we live these 30 to 80 year lives, and we just keep doing, why do we keep doing it? Why do we keep choosing this? You know? So through your experiences, you're raising your consciousness, you're trying to build relationships, right? You're trying to build relationships with people. Maybe you have had blocks on you. Have you considered that? Have you considered that we put blocks on ourselves to actually keep us from being somewhere where we're not supposed to be in this simulation? You know what I'm saying? And I'm the same boat, man. I've been single for, like, you know, little relationships here and there, but dude, I got my heart broken when I was 20, and I was like, I'm gonna go figure my shit out. So how have you been able to deal with the illusion of loneliness? Yeah. And balancing it between allowing yourself to feel it because it's real, and then allowing yourself to let go of it because it's not real.
I was having another amazing conversation with a soul brother of mine, Spencer, at Junk DNA.
Junk, woo, 3%.
Yeah. But we were talking about the same idea, because we're both immersed within it, and you can speak to it too. It feels like to us that we are self-aware enough to know ourselves well enough to know where we're at in our personal development, and just, you know, how we show up into the world, and our approach into relationships, to know we are at a point in our spiritual and emotional maturity to hold space for a divine feminine in the way that she needs. And we know ourselves well enough to know that that is true. And we've even affirmed it for one another that, hey, look, you're not crazy. I think there's something else at play here. And this applies, by the way, to other areas of life, not just relationships. We do set blockages, and I feel that we give permission to other beings prior to incarnation or by virtue of our implied consent and what we think, do, or say over time that allows for those to be set up as barriers for us. Because look, if they weren't there, it would be too easy.
That's why, dude, I would have already been a billionaire, man. Like, you kidding me? Exactly. I had so much drive. I had so much drive, and it literally took the fibromyalgia to vice grip me to the point where I had no choice but to stop. Right. But like you said, I had chances to stop. I just, no, not now, not now. Yeah. But what was crazy about that relationship that I was telling you about earlier was that something came to me and said, you need to go through this.
Right. Exactly.
Like, wait. This one over here is going to love me unconditionally and all that, but you need to go through this one. Yeah. It's going to suck, but it's going to get you where you want to go. And I was like, okay, let's a relationship. They didn't tell me it was going to be 4 fucking years, bro.
Yeah, wow.
4 years, like 4 years of this. But what I also knew, my dad gave me a book from M. Scott Peck, who's one of my favorite authors. He was a psychologist in the 80s, 90s. He was big in the AA movement, Alcoholics Anonymous movement, and he was really good at taking Bible dogma and helping kind of bring the spirituality into it and really kind of break down some Bible verses to where it's like, oh, it's not dogma and you're supposed to hate yourself like Catholicism says. No, it's all about, oh, this and that. So at 13, because I was very depressed for 7 years, wow. At 13, I read this book, and that was when I was like, oh shit, like there's more to this. And then I took a psychology class when I was 18, and I learned about Maslow's hierarchy of needs and gaining self-actualization. And I was like, that's the goal. That's the goal. All of a sudden I was going through this ascension, and I was like, I wonder if I actualized yet. And something came to me like, you actualized like 10 years ago, bro. What are you talking about? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so what I think where we're at now is I don't believe people believe they're as far as they think they are, and you're only as far as you think you are. And I believe that a lot more people have a lot more power and a lot more strength and a lot more skills and a lot more abilities than they allow themselves to believe. And they're so stuck in these fucking black mirrors and this narrative and storyline that they're not helping humanity move forward, because now we're stagnating. Mm-hmm. And I do believe we're co-creating this. I believe that it's as real as it is. And I believe we're all co-creating this in this experience together. And what happens in Africa does affect us in the consciousness, right?
Yeah.
And here's the thing is we all have a responsibility for our own thoughts. We all have a responsibility of our own reactions, our own words, because that's the only thing that's real to us. But if we're allowing our attention to be taken into a storyline and narrative that isn't real, we are creating a timeline where that will become real. For sure. Because that is how the quantum computer works. That is how the looking glass works. It's not about manipulating reality. It's about getting the human collective consciousness to focus all their attention on one thing to manifest it into reality at once. Mm-hmm. So we're going to take that, we're going to bring that into a group setting of light workers, and we're going to start actually coming together and manifesting brilliance through the remembrance, through this ascension awakening path. And I really believe that you're going to be a big part of this, man, because you have this ability to just hit the fucking nail on the head, man.
Yeah.
And I'm just cheering you on while you're speaking, because it's just like, thank you. I finally can talk to somebody that really gets the simulation theory, because the human, how about this? Maybe the simulation is the spiritual part, maybe the simulation is what our spirit is experiencing, but the human is what's real. Like, we're really experiencing this human stuff. And we're always trying to escape the human, man. Like, I just see it all the time. We escape it with food, sex, drugs, alcohol, screens, entertainment, going fast, adrenaline rushes. Is there such thing as a good distraction? Is there such thing as a good distraction? Or is it the point, like we did, to go immerse yourself in this human experience and then evolve? But then, because everything's perfect, right? Who's to say that there's idiots that we find that didn't sign up to be an idiot for us?
Right.
You know, exactly. Like who's to say that someone that traumatized us we didn't ask them to do that for us.
Totally.
So that 30 years down the line, we can grow and heal from it.
Mm-hmm.
So talk a little bit about that. We're coming up on an hour. I'm definitely going to want to do more of these with you.
For sure.
So I want to give you the last word, and I want you to explain kind of how did you get to the point of just accepting that this is all on me, and that this entire experience is within this vessel.
Yeah.
And then how were you able to stop projecting it all on everybody else out there and just take full responsibility for yourself?
Yeah. I think, you know, I've had to surrender to the notion that there's some higher aspect of myself, whether it's a multi-level sort of oneness, where there's a soul over soul group, so on and so forth, up to the source, or if it's just me, myself, and I as source, projected as this single human into this reality. That there is something else out there that is connected to me or experiencing through me that is getting experience or some kind of a benefit through my life and the interactions that I have with everybody. Because the second I stop believing that is the second that my life just doesn't feel as important or meaningful. And I don't want to live with that paradigm that my life is not meaningful. That doesn't feel expansive or positive, for me to carry. So I do know, and I believe, and I think, and I am that which is experiencing this existence through me. And I also know that what feels like negativity and pain and trauma for me must feel different to that essence that is absorbing it through me. It must feel like expansion, period.
Yes.
Because it trusts me enough and it knows that I'm strong enough to go down here to this earth game playing field and take one for the team in such a way that that probably couldn't be had by anybody else. That's why I'm fucking having it, is because nobody else was brave enough to do it.
Yes, dude. Yes.
We're all there, man. You're there. Like, your experience, you could say the same thing. Nobody else can do it because you chose it. You're doing it. So everybody who's listening to this, hold that paradigm for a moment in your heart center. Like, what you have gone through is yours. No one else has gone through that, and no one else ever will. And source is experiencing that, and you and I, we're all connected, in a way that even indirectly, we're all absorbing this flow of experience that we're all going through.
It's pure love.
Yeah.
Even hate is the opposite side of love. I really don't believe you could actually truly hate something without first loving it before.
Right. Exactly.
That's the separation. But for me, fear is a separation from God.
Yeah.
So it's a separation from who you are, what you are, and why you were here. And the only reason we have fear is because we don't have clarity. And you bring clarity to people's lives. So before we sign off, give yourself a little plug. Talk about your coaching business and let the audience know how they can support you, how they can gain access to you, and how Army of Energy can help you moving forward.
Thank you, brother. Yeah. The best way is connecting on Instagram at New Earth Knowledge. Also my personal account at mjbecker_. You can also visit newearthknowledge.com, where you're going to find lots of information, knowledge, and wisdom sharing from my personal perspective. You can check me out. I have a podcast, the New Earth Knowledge Podcast, as well. And yeah, man, working to build my coaching business, ushering people into that as feels right for both me and them. It's life coaching, but it really kind of spans the gamut of brand building and really merging that 5D with that 3D, and just helping to bring those two worlds together for the people that it's a match.
Dude, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for giving me an hour of your time. I would love to do it again. And again, anything else I can support you with. I have a Telegram channel, so any of your content, just send it to an email, do anything, and I'll post it on my social media. That's what Army of Energy is about. It's finding content creators that are truthful and real and raw, and bringing an army of energy together, man. We need to come together now, because doing it alone it's not working. And it's worked for us.
Yeah.
But I don't want to do this shit alone anymore, man. I've been alone for a long time.
Yeah.
All right, brother. I really, really appreciate you. I thank you so much, and I'll see you real soon. And thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you soon. So thank you. Take care.
Kudos to you. Talk soon.